Hey ho, it's Joe. So today I'm going to be talking about books that I want to reread. All the books I'm going to be mentioning I've read before, and we're going to go ahead and talk about them, give a little bit insight about them, and basically go from there. So I have a list of 11 books. I have a list of 11 that I want to reread. Some of the books that are on this list are series, so go ahead and bear with me here. So the first books or series that I have on this list, the Twilight series. I read this when I was in college. I have borrowed the Twilight series from a friend, and I absolutely fell in love with this story. And when I came home from college, when I went back to my parents' house actually from college, the movies had started to come out. So my mom had mentioned, hey, this is a really great movie coming out called Twilight. And I'm like, hey, Mom, I know, I read the book. She's like, wait, there's a book? So then she picked it up, she read it, and then next thing I know, I had Twilight and New Moon sitting underneath the Christmas tree that very year. And then the following year I had Eclipse, and then the following year after that I had Breaking Dawn. I borrowed Breaking Dawn from our local library when I was living with my parents at the time, so I haven't actually read my physical copy of Breaking Dawn yet. So that's why I want to reread the whole entire series. The next book I want to reread, Chasing Redbird. By Sharon Creech. The Chasing Redbird was a book that I had read a very long time ago when I was maybe like, I want to say 9 or 10 years old. I had read it with a teacher. This was one of those books that we read. I was in not really a special ed class, but it was more or less a class that I went to go read, just reading when I was in school. And this was one of those books that we had read, and it was definitely a book I want to reread because it's been a very, very long time since I've read it. The next series that I have that I want to reread is the Immortals series. It starts with Evermore. This follows a girl who got into a bad car accident, and she now all of a sudden has these like magical powers. She can touch somebody. She knows their whole entire story. And she ends up meeting this boy who ends up turning her whole life around, changing her whole entire world. And I found myself thinking about this book when I wasn't even reading it. I found myself thinking about this whole entire series, wondering where it's going to go. Personally, I have actually never read Night Star, but I definitely want to start with the whole series again, start to finish. I want to say there's at least one more book in the series, but I told myself I would not buy the last book in the series until I reread everything and read Night Star. So, sorry Mom, but I am admitting that I've actually never read this whole entire series all the way through. The next book that I have that I want to reread, I've read it many times before, but it is one of my all-time favorite classics, and that's The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. I have it in the Great Illustrated Classics. I collected these when I was a kid. There's quite a few that I do have, and this is actually one of my favorite books of all time. And, you know, just reading it, it just brings me joy. It brings me just happiness. I love this book so much. And I don't like the movies that are about it, but I love the book. The next book that I want to reread and maybe eventually get the sequel for, which I've never actually read, is Elixir by Hilary Duff. I've always been a Hilary Duff fan. This is a great book. I read it a long time ago, and I honestly could not remember what to tell you what it's about because I read it quite a few years ago. I don't even remember. It even got like an old phone number in it for me. This was published in 2010, so yeah, it's definitely been a while since I've read it because I bought this just when it came out. I was so excited. I was waiting for the release of it. So I ended up buying this and I read it like in a day. So I definitely need to reread it. The next book that I want to reread is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I have the 50th edition published, and mine has the deckled edges, which I can't stand. However, this was actually given to me as a Christmas present by one of my brothers about a year ago, and I actually haven't finished this one all the way through, but I have read To Kill a Mockingbird before. I read it when I was in high school, which seems like it was a long time ago. It was almost, I'll admit it, 12 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago when I read this. So it's definitely one of those ones I need to reread because it's been a long time. The next one I'm going to talk about is a series, and that is the House of Night series by PC Cast and Kirsten Cast. I read these maybe soon before I went to college, so it was back in 2008 when I read these. So it's been over 10 years, and this was a series that my mom had discovered, and then I started reading it. I got addicted to it, and well, here we are. I have almost the whole set. I think I have up until Burned, and that's as far as I've gone. So I haven't read the whole entire series all the way through. So we need to start over, read it again. Then when I take it to the last book, I will purchase the other book, and we'll go from there. So the next book that is on my list, come back here. The next book that is on my list is The Host by Stephine Meyer. So this follows a I want to say it follows aliens, I think, and it's been a really long time since I've read this, but it follows a girl. There's an invasive on the planet. It's kind of like, if you guys have ever seen Stargate SG-1, it's kind of like the same concept as having a host for. So it follows kind of like the same concept of Stargate SG-1 with the Goa'uld, with the symbiote that's inside their bellies and whatnot. It's kind of like that you need a host in order to survive. I read this literally probably about 12 years ago. 12 to 15 years ago, I can't remember when. So it's one of those ones. If you are a fan of Stephine Meyer, I would recommend this. This leans more toward adult fiction rather than, young adult fiction. If I remember, it was really good, and I really need to reread it. The book that is on my list is Out of the Dust by Karen Hesse. I don't know how you want to say that. This is another one of those books that I read when I was in elementary school, again with that same class, and it was a really quick and easy read. It follows a young girl in the Depression era with her mom. Her mom ends up getting pregnant and then gets up getting really sick, and I don't remember. Oh yeah, so it follows this girl and her mom. Her mom ends up getting pregnant, and then she gets really sick, or she gets water splashed on her face. That's what it was. She got hot water splashed on her face, and her mother ends up passing away, and then she basically has to take on this world with her father, who she doesn't really care for, and it's just amazing. It was read such a long time ago, and I feel like as an adult I'll get more out of it than I did when I was a kid. So this is definitely on my reread list. The one that is on my reread list is Go Ask Alice. This is another one of those that I read when I was younger, and I read this in high school because it seemed like everybody was reading it then. And actually, if I remember right, I read this, I want to say maybe it was my sophomore year of English class. Maybe it was sophomore or junior. I don't remember, but I do remember the teacher that read it, that had us read it. And it follows, if you guys haven't read Go Ask Alice, it follows a young girl who basically writes in a diary entry. She's into drugs, she's into alcohol. She's basically, her whole world turns upside down because of it. And it follows her perspective on it in a diary form. So it's a real quick read. It's really easy to read. So yeah, if you guys haven't read Go Ask Alice, it's definitely a book that I think everybody should read. So the next series I want to reread is the Seven Realms series. It starts with the Demon King and goes to the Exiled Queen, the Grave Roof Throne, and the Crimson Crown. Each book is over 500 pages, so they're definitely long. It took me quite a while to read through them. So this follows a boy named Han and a girl named Raja. Not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but her full name is Rebecca. And it follows these two where Han's life gets harder. He takes control of a magical amulet where there's this boy named Micah who is trying to win over the heart of Rebecca, and there's, well, it's hard to explain. I'm honestly just going to read the back of it so you guys can get a better understanding of it. I have a hard time to explain how this works because there's just so much that goes on in this. So I'm going to go ahead and read the back of it to you just because it's easier for the back to tell you rather than me. So times are hard in the city mountain of Fellsmart is what I call it. Reformed thief Han Alistair would do nothing to eke out a living for himself, his mother, and his sister Mari. Ironically, the only thing that he values is something that he can't sell. For as long as Han can remember, he worn a thick silver cuffs engraved with runes. Then clearly magicked as he grew, they grow, and never been able to get them off. Han's life gets even harder after he takes a powerful amulet from Micah Meyer, which is the High Wizard. The amulet once belonged to the Demon King, the wizard who nearly destroyed the world a millennial ago. With magical peace so powerful at stake, the bears must stop at nothing to reclaim it from Han. Meanwhile, Raja, or Mariana, or Rebecca, Princess Hera of Fells, has her own battles to fight. Although Raja has been eligible for marriage ever since her 16th name day, which is like a birthday, isn't looking forward to trading her common sense for a prince, a big castle, tiny brain. Raja aspires to be like Helena, which is her mother, a great legendary queen who was killed by the Demon King to save the world. But it seems like her mother has other plans for her, and to include a suitor against everything queendom stands for. The Seven Realms will tremble. The lives of Han and Raja collide with stunning page-turning author. So yeah, actually her mother is not dead. Actually, I should say her mother is not dead. It was like, I think it was her sister, her mom's sister. So it was her aunt that actually was killed by the Demon King. So this follows Han, it follows Raja, and then their worlds collide. Just this whole entire series was just so gripping, and I loved it so much. So it's definitely a series I want to reread. So that completes the series that I want to reread video. Thank you so much for watching. If there's any series or books that you think I should read that maybe I possibly already have read or that I haven't mentioned in this video, go ahead and leave a comment below on that book and I will see what I can do to find it. Again, I need to remind you guys I am on a book buying ban currently right now because I have a lot of books that I need to read right now. Personally, there's a lot of books I need to reread. There's some books that I've received and some books that I bought last year that I haven't read yet. So I have a long list of books that I need to read. If you guys want me to go ahead and do a video on the books that I need to read, go ahead and leave a comment below and I would love to do that video for you. If you guys haven't already hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do so. I won't post videos very often, but I'll try to get videos up about once a week. That's, my main central goal. So again, if there's anything you guys want to see, leave a comment down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye everybody.